Greeting fellow modelers, today let's look at the SPAD 13. This, another Fiddlers Green special in the Quick Build series. So, we're going to have fun and continue our World War I streak. Let's begin. Go check out fiddlersgreen.net. Here you will find hundreds of paper models that you can build for free the first time. Here we have the SPAD 13. Pretty decent model. Loved it from the Flyboys and other models I've seen in plastic kit. The wing, upper and lower, the struts, and here's the plan how to do it. This is going to be fun, so stick around and let's begin. So first we're going to need some tools. So the tools needed would be 1. Tweezers. I love my tweezers. The gospel according to tweezers. This is a cake decorating tool. You can find those at any hobby store. Tacky glue, Aleene's tacky glue. This I can't recommend enough. And some super glue when you need some quick bond. This I use to get glue from the jar and also to shape parts. A cutter, scissors, important, and of course my trusty X-Acto knife blade. And some toothpick. Can't do without the toothpick. Steel ruler for your straight edge. And pretty much don't forget the cutting board, and that's it. Let's begin cutting out the parts. Again, this is my personal thing where you say I'm cutting out the fuselage. You notice that part showing you the profile, pay attention to it. I'm glad that you get a chance to join me each and every week when I try to put out models on the weekend. I would ask, please subscribe. Apparently there's almost 10,000 of us every week that are viewing, but only a fraction that subscribe. So help out a brother here. Thanks so much. For the upper wing assembly, I'm taking my time to cut the wing out. So we use our tweezer to score along the fold area, and we're going to fold it using our steel rule. We then roll the upper surface, roll the lower surface, because these models, they're more like true aerofoil, like that of a bird back then. Notice I'm using the scissors to cut the trailing edge, so scissors or your X-Acto knife, no problem. I'm strengthening the wing center by using toothpick glued on the inside of the frame, and then we just glue along the edge of the frame. Tack in place, and we're good to go. And pretty much that's it. We join the trailing edge first, make sure it's straight, then we glue the cord and trim as necessary. Bearing in mind, this model was, I think, 1992, so yeah, it's not bad. The way we treated the upper wing assembly, we're going to do the same for the lower wing. It's just that we divide it in two. Here you see I'm going at it again, using my X-Acto knife to cut the trailing edge, but you can use your scissors if you want. Again, I'm just lightly scoring along the root and folding it over the ruler like we did the upper wing, and we just repeat the process. The SPAD, especially this particular model, I love the colorful outlay of it. It is like imagination was wild back then during the First World War when these models came out. They just look very, not just vintage, they just evoke memories of what it was like. Like the planes had far more personalities back then than now. Here we trim the edges up and we're good. Nice. Look at the beauty of this. It's going to look really nice. The tail and the fin assembly It's supposed to be simple and straightforward. I really want to just emphasize how grateful I am that each and every weekend you guys turn up to help support me, help this channel grow. I realize also it can grow according to YouTube by even simply leaving a like. A like, a comment, these things will just help me grow more and more and more. The dream what I have for this channel is to produce as much paper model as possible. With all that I can, with the tips, the tricks I've learned, the builds that I've done, and most important, what not to do and the mistakes I've made. So this way, when you're interested to finally take the dive, or you plan to build your own model, you should have it a bit easier based on maybe one and two things you pick up from here. So yeah, like I said, that's the dream, and hey, I'll always be a dreamer. And here we're doing the fin. Now, all these toothpick you see I'm using is ones which I've trimmed and stripped to make it smaller and more efficient. And that's how I strengthen the fin, just like the stabilizer. We just cut the parts we don't need. And remember guys, once we're finished with this, we're going to color all the edges. So the fact is, for like the struts, we need to reinforce this. So we get another cardstock sheet. We're cutting out the struts, and to this we'll glue on. And you'll see later how I cut beyond the top and the bottom of these struts so that we can fold and attach to the wing. Here you see I'm putting the landing gear because, again, we just need to make sure it is hardened. And the prop. The fuselage assembly is supposed to be straightforward. Here we have the fuselage. We're going to just cut it out. Nice. And get rid of those parts. Now, pay attention, you see the cross section of what the fuselage is supposed to look like? So it's not round, but more like a box shape. So we're going to use our brush handle to sort of mimic what the fuselage is supposed to look like from a cross section. That we just have a rough idea of what it looks like. And then we put glue below. This is where we're going to join the part to make it a single structure here. Not bad. We then just bend in slightly the join tabs. You see me now shading the inside of the fuselage. This is where the cockpit area is. I'm cutting out the area where we're going to insert our lower wing later. And then we roll. Here we go. And you notice it's almost like a box shape. We still remember to look at the profile that we're using to form the fuselage, the cross section. Apply glue to the panel, not the tab, and then we join. Slowly, carefully align, and then we lock into position with our tweezer. The cowling now we know it's going to be rounded. So here we're going to cut out the parts for our cowling, and this is where now your cake decorating tool, or even if you don't have that, the edge of your brush, the brush handle tip can come into play. Here you see I'm using the cake decorating tool to help with the curve. We then attach a bit at a time, lock it down using the tweezer, and then use our cake decorating tool again to get it more rounded. And that, my friends, is how I do it. We put in the engine grill. This here you see I'm doing is just bending the excess parts I have, glue the shaft, and then I can just pull it through. Just check the alignment and make sure it's aligned properly the way it's supposed to be aligned. And here you see now I'm going to attach this onto the main fuselage. Once the alignment is good, we then use our tweezer to try lock the cowling onto the main fuselage. Whatever can happen, and then we just cut the excess off for the shaft, and that's it. Now the headrest we're going to attach. We just roll, fold, glue into place, and we're good. Nice, look at that. Look how it's coming out really nice. So the lower wing integration, we take one side, we put toothpick in, slide it through, and then onto the other side now, we attach the other wing. And that's it, pretty much. And we just glue in place. We check the alignment, we check its level, and you're good. After we finish with that, then we put the tail fin on so that we can check the alignment of the stabilizer, the fin, to make sure it is aligned properly. We super glue what we can in place. And then after we do all of this, we can now focus on the upper wing. Here you see I'm doing the fin, slowly attaching in place. And now she's starting to look like the spad we all know. Lovely. You know, if you feel like, you could build several different versions of these. I think Fiddlers Green have given, I think, about 4 or 5 different versions of it, so it should be good. The wing struts now, pay attention to what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut first off the center ones, paint the underside, because at this scale we don't double. And remember, this model is from 98 or earlier, so it may not be 100% perfect, but you know what, we make do. So notice I'm cutting beyond what is needed. We're going to then put our slots, create these slots for the strut, and then we can slide in. And then notice I stop at where the color begins. And once we get all 4 in, we check the alignment and we glue in place. And pretty much that's it. Carefully glue. And now we're doing the wing struts. So notice now, I cut the underside. You see the extra piece that I've cut? I am now slicing, fold the strut, the base extra piece, so I can slide it in place. This now I can effectively glue into place, not a problem, and check the alignment at the same time. And pretty much that's what I do for the other rest. If there's any other tip you know how to do this, you can let me know. You can leave a comment. But for me, I find that for this particular model, this works, and it works pretty well. There you go, all in. Now, once these are in and they're dry, we take the time to paint the edges to let it look a little more realistic. Now here you see I am trying to put basic cuts in the upper surface, align it with the lower surface, and then use my Alene tacky glue to tack into position. It may not be necessary to cut the upper wing surface, but just make sure the alignment is proper. And once you do that, you can use super glue to lock everything firmly in place. And that pretty much, my friends, is almost on the home run to getting this model done. Look how it looks nice. Really loving it. Landing gear is the same principle I use as the strut. We're going to cut the landing gear but leave a little extra that we can slide into position. I really enjoy building these World War I models. I mean, I'm trying to find a balance between doing these World War I biplanes and do jets. So I guess I'll eventually find a balance, but I really love doing these. You can let me know what next you would like to see. But so far, I'll be doing these, I guess, a few more of these. Here you see I'm using the toothpick. Make sure get the landing gear strut on. Put the cross brace in. On the fuselage, you will see guide marks where you can slice. This is where you can then insert the excess clip that you made from the landing gear paper in, as you see I'm doing here. And once that's in, you can secure it with your basic Alene quick drying glue and then super glue into position. The wheels, it's a simple razzle dazzle 1-2. We get an extra sheet that we can then glue our wheels onto. We're going to cut the sheet out and work with it. Now here's the thing, when we cut the wheel pattern out, the ones with the star, we'll use our cake decorating tool and form a curve with it, and we go from there. So we use our cake decorating tool, we make it a bit semicircle. This now we can glue onto the flat side, and then that's it, our wheel. Let us not overcomplicate it, make it simple, make it nice, and there you go. Remember, at the end of the day, any excess we have, we just clip off here, put some generous amount of glue, and that's it. We put in place. Nice. Once that dry, we gently set it down and we'll paint the edges. Our tail skid is just excess cardstock and we're good. The prop assembly is the easiest thing. We just cut it out, we paint the edge, we twist it, and then we glue it to position. Make sure you spend the time to paint the underside of it and paint the edge just to give it a little more realism. So after we do this part, then it's just a simple thing of putting the machine gun on and we should be good. So the machine gun assembly is very easy to do. Just a matter of taking the strip of paper, we paint the edge of a toothpick, and then we just roll the part we want over it, so that will form the perfect machine gun. Once we roll, then we can glue and then fit into position. Lovely. The finishing, this is a favorite part of mine. We paint everything. We paint all the edges. We try to find colors that match close as possible, and just realize that the finishing is just as important as the assembling. This is what will form great habits for you to build great paper models. So the more you paint parts which are exposed plain white paper, it's a more realism you add to your model. So spend the time. It will be well worth it. Thank you so much for following me so far. If you like what you've seen so far, please consider giving the video a like and even a comment. Thank you so much for joining me, and I especially want to thank all my Patreon sponsors here who help make this possible, who have shared time, financial effort to help me to bring this model to you. And to you, my viewers, be well. Treat yourself with gentleness and respect. Be kind to yourself. Be excellent to each other. And above all, my friends, one love.